Welcome to the Grandpa Channel, where stories don't fade, they get recorded. I'm Steve Harris. My grandkids call me Rivers. This podcast is where grandpas and grandchildren pull up a chair, turn on a mic, and let her rip. Grandpa stories are chock full of wisdom, life lessons, and frankly, funny as hell. Your stories are the magic elixir to help your grandkids navigate Mr. Toad's wild ride, aka life. Let's Grandpa. Listen up, grandpas. Have you actually pulled the trigger on recording your life story? I'm talking video, baby. They want to remember your corny jokes, your crooked smile, your rugged good looks, and the jaunty bounce of your voice. What if I told you there was a really easy way to do this? Recently, I sat down and I told my life story on video. Not the whole thing, but the good stuff, the messy stuff, the funny stuff, the parts I didn't want to forget and the parts that I did not want my kids and my grandkids to forget. Planted Media made it so easy. They came to me, set up everything, and then they did some editing voodoo magic that made me look like $1 million. Go to plantedmediaco.com and tell them Rivers sent you, and you'll get a nice little Grandpa Channel discount. All right, back to the show. Welcome to the Grandpa Channel. We have a terrific guest this morning, Ken Walters, who comes highly recommended as a model grandpa dealing with the grandkids all over the country. First of all, Ken, tell us a little bit about you and your kids and your grandkids.
You bet. So
You brought pictures, right?
okay, I've got my phone out. We'll go for that. Yeah. So we have 6 children, and all of them were born in Seattle area. And we moved to Utah about 14 years ago. And so the bottom 3 finished schooling here. And our oldest 3 have produced 12 grandkids right now. And then one's on the way coming in February from our 4th child. So our kids live in Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, 2 in California, and then our youngest is living in Utah right now. And our grandkids are in Mississippi, Louisiana, and California.
So no grandkids here.
We have no grandkids here.
We can farm out some of these grandkids.
We have some of our best friends here in Utah. We consider we're kind of surrogate grandparents. So
cool.
I go to their football games and soccer games.
Do you really?
And that's to get our fill that way here.
That's one of the things we talk about too, is that grandpas can kind of grandpa where they're planted.
Yeah.
What you hope, I think, would be, and I would hope this too, my wife and I, that when we had kids living away, that there were people who could be surrogate grandpas. And if you can't have them here with you, then you can do that sort of a thing. So that sounds great. Now, the other thing that's really interesting, your endurance running and what you've done and what joy, which is, I don't get it, but the joy that you get from doing these events.
You bet. So a little background. So I've started doing these 22, 23 years ago, something like that. So with biking, running, Ironman events, for marathons. You say you like them. To be honest, in the middle of them, I hate them. Okay, so I'll be in there thinking, what in the world am I doing? I'll finish an event. I'll tell my son and say, if I ever say I want to do another one of these, stop me,
kill me.
And then it's a month later and I'm signing up for something else. I think it's just something about an endurance event. It's not about speed. It's about, can you continue? Can you keep going? And to me, it's a lot of model about life. Can you just not stop? And can you just keep going? And it becomes more of a mental thing than physical. And I've been able to do them with my kids a lot too. I've done a race just about a year and a half ago. So my kids grew up watching me do Ironman events and those things. My youngest son, I did one with him here a couple years ago. And of course, the older boys think, well, the youngest, if he can do it, they said, well, he finished and he didn't look like he was tired. We can do these. So we set up an event in Florida to do Ironman. It's a half Ironman or 70.3. Yeah. And so all 3 of my boys did it with me. And it just, as a memory, I'll never forget. All 4 of us got to do it together. One of them, he didn't have time to train at all. And so I just hung with him the whole day.
Really?
His wife and I both thought he was going to drown. And so she was so nervous. She said, can he have somebody with him?
Yeah.
I said, no, like rules say you can't. But I said, I'm a participant. I literally will swim next to him the entire time. We did. He finished and we biked together. We did the run together, finished together, and just was
What a wonderful thing. And I guess that was my funny question was, what have you learned from your lessons when you're alone in your thoughts and sometimes probably dark thoughts?
Yes.
What have you learned about families? What have you learned maybe even about being a grandpa? Or do ideas come to you that sort of kind of floor you, when you're out there really pushing the envelope?
I think I love the time. Like I generally rarely go with music. Like I'd say to me, it's my ponder time. And so it's time to think with my thoughts by myself.
Do you focus on a particular thing?
I do sometimes. Yeah. Especially in an event where it's, I'm 25 hours into something and I need to get through it.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking about family, thinking about, in fact, one I thought it was maybe going to be my last one. I pulled my phone out and said, okay, here I'm recording. Just so you guys understand, here's what it feels like to be at this mile, this many hours in. I look back and man, I look terrible. But I was kind of, okay, I'm going to see my daughter at this aid station and I'm so many hours away from seeing my wife. So those kinds of things just keep you going.
Oh, that's fantastic. Have any thoughts come to your mind on how to deal? I'm not asking for prickly family issues, but I mean, do you get some inspiration or some thoughts that kind of come in and you go, oh, okay, I hadn't thought about that.
I really do sometimes. Yeah. I think about it and then, sometimes it's just reach out to this grandchild and just say, hey, how are you doing today? I say, I'm a remote grandpa. They say, so it's got to be, sometimes it's just send a text out. Some of the older grandkids have their own watches that I can send text to them now, or it's send to their mom or dad, say, hey, just say hi to so-and-so, tell them I'm thinking about him today.
Oh, that's really cool. And I guess that's one avenue I'd love to go down is, that's a challenge, and it's not an unusual one to have grandparents, but no grandkids immediately around. Yeah. Do you travel? Do you like to go see them? And
we do.
What do you do to kind of take that distance and kind of shrink it?
So the best invention has been FaceTime. Yeah. So just being able to chat on the phone. And then, so our grandkids live in California. We get to see them a little bit more. It's a 12-hour drive, so we can swallow that one a little bit more.
The others, there's no way.
We can't drive there, so it's flying there. But like even just the last month or so, I just kind of use it inspiration on a whim. I thought of my daughter that lives in Louisiana. And I just thought I just need to get out there. I got like a Thursday, and I said, what do you think? Could I come out the next weekend? Sure, that'll be great. So I hopped out of the plane. I was out there for a weekend. We drove to California 2 weeks after that, and we're actually leaving tomorrow to go to California again. And so we travel as much as we can to get to see them. And then just a lot of time on the phone where we can. It helps. We noticed because we raised our kids, they weren't near grandparents either. So my parents lived in Utah. We lived in Seattle, and my wife's parents lived in California. And so we'd get to see them once or twice a year, but it's kind of starting over. And so now with FaceTime, it feels like you're right there again. So we may not see the ones in Mississippi, maybe just a couple times a year, but we're there, and we've had conversation more regularly.
Do you stay with them, or do you find a hotel? I guess it depends on what
we usually get to stay with them.
Situation, which is both good and bad. Well, we stayed with Emily, and her family was great. Just up on the Upper West Side. I got to know the neighborhood around where it was Hudson Heights area. Okay. And I got to know that neighborhood and the little corner stores, and and the kids, of course, were thrilled to see me and my wife. We're known as Rivers instead of Grandpa. Okay. And Queenie. Okay. And to hear a 2-year-old say Queenie is it just you can't help but smile. Queenie,
That's so fun.
What do you guys go by?
So my wife is Mima.
Mima.
And I'm usually Papa. We have a little 3-year-old that now knows how to use his mom's phone. He has her phone more than she does. And he just calls us all the time. Yeah. He says, really? Hi, Papa.
Really?
Right. And for a while, he would call me, it said Ken, but he couldn't say Ken, so it's Kem. So I say, Kem, hi, Kem. He's so good. He actually figured out how to order on Amazon.
No way.
We were in Cancun for our daughter's wedding. They came home to Coco Melon packages on their doorstep. And he goes, oh, they're here. So ordered, it's a whole new world.
And they're so much more comfortable with technology.
They are so comfortable with it. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. What are some of the things about being a grandpa, Kim? What are some of the things that maybe you didn't think were going to be really cool, but turned out to be super cool about being a grandpa? Well, did you look forward to it?
I really did.
Did you?
I felt like grandpa, just felt like I was aged 100 years when people, but
like fine wine.
I totally embrace it now. I absolutely love it. You don't know kind of what to expect with it, but seeing that first grandchild and just the excitement. And it's all right. So our oldest, McKay, so our daughter Brittany lived in New York at the time, and he came early. We got the word that, okay, he's probably coming today. My wife had tickets to go like a week later, and she just jumped on a flight by herself. Okay, she is going to find a way to get there. She did, but just being able to talk to him and just that, I think I get a chance to get a different perspective than when I was a dad and just a parent. I think I worried more. I can take a little bit more, I think, longer view, a little different perspective. And I love that aspect of it.
So here's another kind of question from left field. You're 61.
Yeah.
What would you, as a 61-year-old with the life experiences that you have as a grandpa and as a dad, what would you tell your 31-year-old self, about being a dad and about being a grandpa?
I would say, don't worry so much. Like, it's going to be like, you worry so much about the little things and you kind of have to at a time, but I don't know. I think God plays the long game. So he understands where we're at, and we all make different mistakes. But I think I can see things a little bit different perspective now, and 20 years from now, I'll see it even better. So that's what I would tell to my 31-year-old self is just enjoy the time maybe a little bit more, and don't worry what kind of mistake. Just love them and keep that relationship.
Those are great pieces of advice. Tell me a little bit about your dad. Did you know your grandfathers?
I did not.
See, I had never heard the voice. They both passed away before I was born, which is ironic. We've got the Grandpa channel. Yeah. I've never even heard their voice. They died just a couple of years before I was born. But what about your dad? Was he a good grandpa?
I think so. So I tell you mine. So I'm the youngest of 6 on my mom's side, and she's the 11th of 12. And so I have 0 memories with my mom's grandparents. With my dad's, I have 1 memory of sitting on his lap in a boat.
Really?
And then that's my only memory. But my dad, he was not a more serious person, but he loved his grandkids. They loved coming up to visit. So they would come up to Seattle once or twice a year. Like I say, that relationship was important enough for us. Like, we moved to Utah just so our kids could spend time with their grandparents. He couldn't travel anymore. And we knew we had maybe a year or 2 left in life. And so we moved here, and he did. He passed away 2 years later, but we had so many family dinners and time with him. And I got a chance. He was an avid fisherman. He'd fished all his life. And we lived here. I got to be on his very last fishing trip before he passed away.
Really cool. That's great.
It was a neat experience.
So I'm going to ask you the opposite of this question, just to warn you. But what do you consider to be your superpowers? And here's my observation. My observation, everybody walking around, but especially the guests on this channel, have superpowers. But they also have some kryptonite issues. So we'll ask about that. But what do you think your superpowers are as a grandpa?
That's a tough question. I guess I'd just say I love being with my kids and my grandkids. So I think being present and being able to do things with them. So I guess being active. So they know if they come to Utah in the summer, they're going to be on a boat with us. If they're in the winter, we're going to be up in the snow somewhere. If it's in the fall, we're going to be on a hike. I love being active, and it's something that I love to share that with them. And I love the time to be together doing that, and just being, for me, I guess that's that, knock on wood, I can still be active, and I love doing that with the people I love.
Okay, so here's the other side of the coin. What's your kryptonite?
But I still worry. I probably work too much. Like I said, I'm retired, but I still have jobs that I like to do and stay busy, and I probably just need to relax a little bit more, to be honest.
My kryptonite, so since we're sharing, is patience. I'm working on it. I'm getting better at it, but I'm by nature a pretty impatient person. And unfortunately, sometimes that communicates through to the relationship with my grandkids. It's like being a parent. it reveals certain aspects of your personality that sometimes they're flattering, sometimes they're not so flattering. And I have children who are very quick to point out the foibles of their father and, their grandfather, but in a funny way. So
We need that. No.
yeah, I need these sort of shots of reality.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you looking into the future, and you're still a young man speaking as a 70-year-old, but looking into the future, do you see some other challenges or some other things?
Boy, I think our grandkids are living in a world that we didn't experience.
Oh,
I think it's just, in a digital age of just challenges in the world, challenges in family dynamics, that it just, they have challenges that I don't think I ever had to face. And so, could I be there to be just a listening ear? And not to say offer advice, but just let them know if somebody loves them in hard times that they may be going through. So I think that's my biggest concern and worry is, but they've got great parents that love them, but I just worry, what kind of a world are they coming into?
That leads to kind of an area I wanted to explore for just a while, is the idea of grandpas being fountains of peace. I had one of my kids came up to me and just said, I've got these things, Dad, that, I want to do, but it was during the time when Israelis and the Iranians and the U.S., it looked like it was just going to be this tinderbox. And she said, should I keep doing them? And, it really hit me. I was reminded of a quote that said, you plant cherry trees, plan for whatever's going to come, but plant cherry trees. How do you see yourself as a grandpa, a papa, fountain of peace to your grandkids? How do you model that? How do you exhibit that?
Well, I think it was just being able to be there and to listen. If you say, I guess one thing my kids have told me they feel like I'm a good listener, that they can come and they can share things with me.
I can tell that just by talking.
And so I want to be that, if they need to talk about something, if there's a hard time at home or at school, or I didn't make a sports team or whatever, and to be that, and maybe a little bit of wisdom to the parents. Maybe not an impactful thing at all, but when I was just in Louisiana a couple weeks ago, and the neighbor kids had just bought some new scooters, and my daughter was so nervous about it, and are they safe? And you have this, goes, well, what do you think? And I go, honestly, and the boys had saved up their own money. I said, I would let them do it. As maybe at your age, I probably would have had your same worries, but
yeah,
I think it could be a fun thing. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, they both got scooters. So maybe she's going to not like me, but I think just be able to share, like maybe some things, like relax a little bit, or let's let something slide, or boy, you could have a lot of fun with something like this. So anyway, that's a small example.
I think that's a great example. I really enjoy being a grandpa, and I can tell that you do too. And there's never a dull moment. The surprises I had. One of my grandsons was sitting on the couch reading a newspaper, so it was back a few years ago. And he sidled up next to me, maybe he was 7 or 8 years old, and he says, so what are you reading? And I said, well, I'm reading the obits. And he said, so what's an obit? And I explained to him. And then he looked at me, and he wasn't trying to be funny, but he just said, so I bet you're glad, Rivers, that your picture isn't in the obit section of the day. I go, you're right. I'm very glad. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
And then how do you share your faith with your grandkids?
That's a good question. I think I'm not one to be a real preachy. I feel like I want to be an example, and also make things fun and tradition based. We've had crazy traditions in our family, but I think they build unity, they build bonding. They're crazy. We would Groundhog Day was a tradition in our family. Like
serious?
Like why but we literally watched the movie Groundhog Day every single year on Groundhog Day. And that was just so Groundhog Day comes up and our family starts throwing quotes around from the movie. Or Conference Sunday, it's waffles and ice cream.
Waffles and ice cream.
And that's kind of just a tradition that we got some from friends. We've been doing it for probably 25 years.
Yeah.
And so I love it, not only because, hey, it's a fun tradition, but if they're doing it, they're also watching Conference. So for me, it's being able to share, this is what I love. We serve in the temple, we work there. And so it's just to be able to share, hey, I got this, I happen to get this experience today, and just share a little tidbit. Or my wife would like to say, what was your gem today when we go to the
I
temple?
like that a lot.
And to share that, and if it's something really impactful, we'll hey, this is what happened today. And now that not all of our kids right now share the same faith and belief with it, but still have at least a belief in God and goodness. We can still share that, and I think that's what's important.
Wow. I think it's been a great conversation, Ken. I hope it hasn't been too formidable or foreboding or anything.
Thank you for asking me.
Do you have any, as a 61-year-old grandpa, what kind of advice do you have to 30 and 40-year-old budding grandpas? What would you tell them?
Put the relationship first, because that's the thing that matters the most and what lasts. You got to work, you got to provide, but make sure those relationships are priority. And maybe this is make sure your kids know you love your wife and that she is put up on a pedestal. And for grandkids to see, that's something that's important to me, that everybody knows how much I love Michelle. She's my wife, and how important the relationship is. So I think just focusing on that, because that's what matters the most.
How did you meet Michelle? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we were in a performing group together at BYU. So she's a singer dancer, and I'm a musician. I play the drums. And it's funny, she was dating another guy in the band the first year we were together. And we were good friends. So we were just friends. I was like the third wheel with her and this other guy. They ended up breaking up, and then the next year we were good friends, but I think there could be a little bit more than that. And so we started dating, and the rest is history.
That's pretty cool. How do you help Michelle be a grandma?
Boy, that's go along with her. So she's a better grandma than I'm a grandpa. I'll be I think just to be very honest, she is so present. She is so good with trying to come up with fun things, bring games, and we're going here, and I'm coming along with her. So I give so much credit for. She makes me look good as a grandpa.
It's a wonderful thing to have happen. Well, I'd like to thank Ken. I'd love to thank you for being here. And
thank you.
And I think that there's some gems. What was the phrase
what gem did you get today?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for being here on the Grandpa Channel. And I think I'm going to go have a nap.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's it for today's episode of the Grandpa Channel. Leave a review, share it with a friend, or better yet, tell your favorite grandpa. We're on a mission to gather 1 million grandpas, storytellers, wisdom keepers, and lovable wild cards. Until next time, keep the mic hot, the memories fresh, and the jokes just slightly inappropriate. I'm out of here.